Hi, my name is David Caldwell, and I will be doing my presentation on a cyber attack known as Olympic Destroyer. So just to briefly set the stage for this cyber attack, it occurred during the 2018 Winter Olympics, which were hosted in Pyeongchang, South Korea. The Olympics Organizing Committee's Cybersecurity Advising Group had met 20 times in the years leading up to the Olympics to prepare for attacks. This team was led by Director of Technology Sang-Jin Oh. Right before the opening ceremony, Oh was notified that domain controllers at data centers in Seoul were being shut down. They were critical to the Olympics' digital infrastructure. Oh rushed to join his cybersecurity team, and they attempted to recover their systems from a backup, but they were quickly shut back down. They then disconnected their systems from the internet and worked through the night to rebuild their infrastructure. Korean security contractor OnLab made an antivirus signature for the malware, a file named winlogon.exe. The staff's passwords were reset, and the newly rebuilt servers were put back online successfully. Olympic Destroyer had been stopped. So why is this attack important to study? Well, firstly, it reveals how international actors such as Russia can be a large threat that should be constantly considered. Secondly, it shows that even when well prepared, systems and security teams are still defeatable. Third, it shows how social engineering can be effectively utilized as a component in an attack vector. There is some very interesting political background to this attack. South Korea is a very technologically advanced country, and the Olympics put the eyes of the world on them. Thus, if they had technological issues during the Olympics, it would be very embarrassing for them. Also, the Olympics are considered to be a symbol of international peace, with athletes from countries around the world coming together to compete. It is also important to recognize the scale of the technological infrastructure for the Olympics, which included over 10,000 PCs, more than 20,000 mobile devices, 6,300 Wi-Fi routers, and 300 servers in 2 Seoul data centers. And that is according to Wired.com. Next, we will look into some procedural information surrounding this attack. The attribution problem for cyber attacks comes into play here, as it was very difficult for cyber analysts to figure out who had launched this attack. There were many different patterns that appeared in the code of the malware used for the attack that could indicate a number of different countries being the instigator. This is a major problem, as blaming the wrong country for a cyber attack could lead to massive international political fallout and conflict. So let's get into the meat of how this attack actually happened. It is still undetermined how the attackers initially gained access to the Olympic systems. However, the best theory is currently that the Olympic staff were spearphished. They were sent emails with a Word document attached, and if they opened it, they would see a file filled with gibberish, which was meant to look like a misencoded file. This might have led the user to click the Enable Content button. When the target did that, the file opened cmd.exe, which is just the command prompt, and ran 2 PowerShell scriptlets that opened a backdoor into the system. This backdoor could have led to the virus's delivery. The virus then sat dormant on the compromised systems until they were ready to be activated. On the night of the opening ceremony of the Olympics, the virus awakened from its dormancy and began its work. The virus worked in 2 phases, one which propagated it, and the other which destroyed the compromised system. The virus's binary downloaded a set of files onto the compromised system, 2 of which were designed to steal credentials of other systems on the network and communicate them back to the initial binary program. The binary then took these newly stolen credentials and compiled a new binary that included them in order to access the other systems on the network. It then propagated this new binary to the other systems on the network and moved on to phase 2 of its attack. In phase 2 of its attack, the virus worked to destroy the compromised system and make it very difficult to recover. The virus first opened cmd.exe and deleted all of the shadow copies of the system using a default Windows process called VSS Admin. Shadow copies are just backups of files on a system. It then used webadmin.exe to delete all of the backups on the system that were stored. This makes any attempts at recovery much more difficult. The virus then utilized bcdedit and cmd.exe to ensure that Windows did not try to repair itself on boot. Now that the virus has made recovery of the system extremely difficult, it moves on to destroying the system. It first deletes the event log off of the system to cover its tracks. It then disables all of the services on the system. It then finally wipes every writable file by overwriting it and shuts down the system. This effectively renders the system destroyed and unusable. So what was the harm of this attack? Well, thanks to quick action by the security team, the effects of this virus were mitigated greatly. It did lead to high levels of stress for the security team as they worked to rebuild the system and get it back online. The Olympics' digital infrastructure also did have to go offline for the first night of the Olympics, which meant that people attending the event were not able to use the Olympics app or access the Olympics website. This may have led to confusion as to why these services were down and attendees being irritated by the inconveniences that this may have caused. So, in conclusion, this attack was well carried out and did its job highly effectively. The attackers covered their trail well, as seen by the attribution problems that their virus created. However, the quick response by the cybersecurity team mitigated the damage from this attack. The attackers' end goal of embarrassing South Korea was not really realized due to the quick response to and mitigation of the virus. However, it was a good reminder for countries to be on the lookout for international actors attacking them technologically, even in times of apparent peace. Another big lesson to be learned here is that even if you think you are prepared for an attack and have vast resources at your disposal, you are still not prepared enough and should be ready for the worst case to happen, just as the cybersecurity team for the Olympics was. And here are the sources I used to gather information for this presentation. Two questions I have regarding this presentation are: what might have motivated an international actor to launch a cyber attack on the digital infrastructure of the Olympics? The other question is: what could the security team have done to prevent this attack, if anything? Thank you.